Your reasons for listening to the show, well, those are your own. But just keep in mind that the views, information, or opinions expressed on the Tuttle Daily Podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of our sponsors. Yeah, it's called free speech, people. Nobody's forcing you to listen. One-of-a-kind shades made to order by VaporShades.com. Vapor Shades designs the outer layer of the sunglasses just like a wrap on a car. They customize your sunglasses, marbling the paint. The end result is no two pair of sunglasses are alike. Yours will be completely unique to you. Check us out at VaporShades.com. Use promo code Tuttle for 15% off your entire order. Get ready for your daily dose of Tuttle.
The all-time greatest intern/producer we've ever had, of course, Tuttle. Tuttle in Florida.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp, it's the Tuttle Daily Podcast.
Anarchy! Anarchy! Anarchy!
No wonder nobody likes you, Tuttle. Everything's a goddamn debate.
Welcome to another edition of the Tuttle Daily Podcast. I got to tell you, been a pretty crappy day so far. And I know that my next guest has done a lot of improvising. So this is like going to be one of the first improvising interviews that I've ever done. I know about Milton. Milton, how are you doing, buddy? I apologize. And I hope you don't think that I'm being disrespectful, but like I'm dealing with some family issues right now. And it sucks, but I'm being a professional and I'm getting on here. And I want to talk to you. Tell people before we get into everything how they can check you out. Tell them a little bit about yourself, because the one thing I do know, you are an interesting mix of background, right? Like Dutch and Venezuela.
Yeah, yeah, a very exotic mix. So yeah, I'm technically a Venezuelan living in Miami.
Yeah,
but
how is Miami? Was spring break pretty crazy down there? I heard spring break got kind of crazy.
It was a living portrayal of the movie The Purge.
Oh, yeah.
Like absolutely out of control. And the funny thing, funny, like curious actually, because it wasn't funny at all. It was most of the mess was made by people that weren't locals. So people came, destroyed, and went into their $10 trip back to whatever.
Yeah. Now, all right. So tell your website and stuff. Where can people check out your content? I usually like to tell people to go to the website. I'm sure if you go to your website, it has a connection to all your social media as well, too, right?
Absolutely. My name is Milton Granadillo. Since it's a mouthful, it's better to check me out in Instagram, because my handle is _Milton_show. So the Milton Show with 2 underscores in between. So I think that's easier to reach me.
Yeah, that is. Now, Milton, let me ask you. Okay,
yes.
So were you born and raised in South America?
Absolutely. I've been in this country for only 5 years and some change. But yes, I'm originally from Venezuela. I spent like 2 years in Argentina, and then I came here to the States.
Now, is there a lot, like, what is the biggest comedian ever to come out of your country where you were born? It could be you, right? Like, I mean, you could be the biggest comedian to come out of Venezuela, right?
I mean, hard to tell. The thing is, there's very, very cool comedians in Venezuela that have like won awards and everything, but they tend to be too local. Meaning, if they perform in front of a crew of Argentinians, even though they're the smartest writers,
only people in your country would get it, right? Like it wouldn't translate.
But definitely, my favorite comedian is a guy called Laureano Mark. He's actually a writer and he performs, and he talks subjects about like history and politics and everything, but in a hilarious way that you can relate to him, even though if you're not a Venezuelan.
Now, who is the biggest name that have you ever opened or done an open mic night or opened for any big acts right now? Like have you had a chance to meet any of the famous comedians out there? Because it is like almost like a club, right? Like being in comedy and stand up. I know from what I've read, a lot of people like to, the ones that are really, really nice will help out the up and comers. And then there's some that were just like, no, screw you. I'm not going to help you because you're going to be competing against me.
Well, I've had the luck of being in a city where everybody's super welcoming, especially in the comedy scene, because basically every comedian, including myself, are poor and we don't live off comedy. We do other things, and comedy is like our fun gig.
Mhm.
So the Miami audience tends to be friendlier. I haven't opened for any big comedian yet, but 3 weeks ago I opened for a guy, and he told me like, "Hey, come to the venue right before, and if you don't mind, we might have we have to hang before the other comedian ends." And turns out it was Marlon Wayans.
Oh,
So
dude, he is such a nice guy too, man.
he was. I was never expecting that because he was like super nice, and actually he extended his show, so we had to start late because of him. But he was in the green room and he was like the nicest thing. He's like, "Oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. I never do this. But some visit came over," and we're like, "Hey man,
dude,
you're the person from White Chicks. You can do whatever the hell you want." And he's like, "No, man, I really want to apologize." Like he takes it like very serious.
yeah, I mean, he could have been like, I mean, he's an A-list like comedian. Like he could have easily been like, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want to do and screw you guys, and that's it. But I'm glad that you bring the Wayne's up. That I watched a documentary. It was on actually, it wasn't a documentary. It was on CBS Sunday Morning. I don't know if you ever watched that show before.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
They had Jamie Foxx on. Yeah. And they were talking about In Living Color. Did you ever have a chance to watch any of those episodes?
I absolutely know that show, but for reference, because it never got transmitted back in Venezuela. So I have to hunt down for clips in YouTube. And it's so interesting because it
was a show. They were talking. It was nice because it was a show it was a black show done by black writers, black performers, black stagehands, and it gave a voice for minorities. Because when I look at SNL, I hate when SNL, they all do this promotional thing. They're like, "Oh my God, we have our first Asian on the show," or "We have our first such and such." Why does it have to be that way? I mean,
I think you hit the mark. With Living Color, because Living Color was for black audiences with black writers. So when you don't have that, when you have a crew that's probably mainly white, all the hires or the talent that are going to get hired, even though they're multicultural, you hire them from a white standing point. So it's sometimes like cliche, like stereotypes, and it's like, "Oh, you're awesome. You're an awesome Asian stand-up comedian. I'm gonna make you the angry Asian guy." And then it's like, but wait, so they become these tropes, and
caricatures,
yes,
almost.
And I have the most respect for SNL. Obviously, it's a staple, and all that I know about pop culture in America comes from SNL.
But you would agree though that they do make a big. You would agree. Like I know you got. Listen, if I was a comedian too, I'm not talking shit about SNL. I'm not doing it because Lauren Michaels might hear this and be like, Milton,
screw you.
Milton.
You could be the Latino quota.
Yes, exactly.
You screw your chances up.
Yeah, no, but it's just I've never gotten that. Now, do you think it's possible, for somebody to all right, so for example, using you as an example, if there was a sketch show that was written for you, would a Venezuelan writer be able to get you better? Would be able to translate and write something better for you, or does it really matter? Does it matter what race is writing for what race?
Well, I think you shouldn't be so strict into thinking well, if I'm only writing for a certain segment of the country, it should be that literal person only. I think we could achieve a way of talking to every audience, because for example, that happens here as a performer in Miami, you have to perform for a wide variety
because it's a mixture. Florida is a melting pot.
Absolutely. So it's an excellent school into developing content that's not only gonna be funny for a Venezuelan. It needs to be funny for a Venezuelan, but also for a guy that lives in West Palm Beach, but also from a tourist that's here from France, you know? So I think if you have a multicultural crew, if you have, you know, not only one person that's from LA, but you have a Mexican guy and an Asian person and an African American, that gets richer, because the irony of it is like the minorities, we have a lot of things in common. And I love that you talk about In Living Color, because I've watched some sketches that me, even though I wasn't born anywhere close to that experience, I get to relate. And it's hilarious to me because as a Latino, there's some experiences that are very similar to our side of the minority.
Yes, yes, I agree. Now while we're on it, like, do you like when I do my show? I like to keep it fun and light, okay? But do you ever get controversial? Do you ever like talk about things and try to like? All right, this is how I've always lived. Okay, I believe in absolute freedom of speech. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I mean, our country, the definition of it is the protection of unpopular speech. Okay.
That's why I'm here, basically.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this though. Can a joke ever go too far?
That's like the classic question for comedians.
Because I say no.
Look, yes and no. There's this gray area. There's two things. First of all, there's the personality traits of every comedian. That's a very gray area, and it's very abstract that you can explain why, for example, Bill Burr can get away with a lot of dark material that would get him canceled. But since he's Bill Burr and he said in such a smart, funny, not hypocritical way, it's hilarious. But then another comedian could use the exact same stuff and would get canceled, you know? So there's also the personality and the brightness of the
Louis
person.
C.K. Louis C.K. used to use the N-word sometimes in his act. And I'm like, I don't know if he could get away with that now.
Absolutely. So I think that there's a lot of people complaining about PC and stuff. And sometimes I've seen comedians saying like, "Oh, my joke didn't work. My joke didn't work because the audience was too PC." And I'm like, well, maybe there's possibility that your joke sucked, you know.
Or let the marketplace.
Funny is funny.
Well, I've always listen, Milton. This is how I've always looked at it. Okay, because I've worked in radio all my life. I believe that there should be no censorship. I say I should be able to curse, say whatever I want to on the air. Let the marketplace control it, because if the audience is not enjoying what you're putting out over the airwaves, they're not going to listen, which means you're not going to get ratings. And if you don't have ratings, you're not going to have sponsors. And if you don't have sponsors, you're going to go out of business.
Absolutely. And I feel like also you can check on what's the goal that the comedian wants with that material, because if it's only for shock value, it's probably not going to work. If I'm just going to try to sneak the N-word in a set just to like have like a badge of honor, like, oh yeah, I'm so controversial, but you don't have actual written material that works, you're going to bomb. But if your intention is to maybe criticize society or pinpoint something about our culture that you haven't checked, like Dave Chappelle does, for example, then he can get away with it.
The George Floyd thing
Absolutely.
He did was amazing.
That's basically spoken word. That for me, it's like another level that's not just comedy. It's almost like he's writing an essay in the form of comedy, you know.
So, he has evolved so much.
Absolutely. Like, yes, but you can see like in his early stuff, there's I can't remember now the one of his first HBO specials. You see it now, 2021, and it works entirely, because he's about criticizing society.
George W. Bush. It was George W. Bush at the time, I think he was talking about. And Bill Clinton.
Wars, the war on drugs. And it's fantastic because he wasn't writing just for shock value. He wrote with a goal in mind, you know.
You got to have it be a storyteller, right? Like you have to be. Who do you think is? I've always thought Jerry Seinfeld, you know, he always said that just changing one word in a joke can make it like 100 times funnier. Like he was such a wordsmith.
Absolutely. That's definitely like end game, to write things with the exact amount and and precise words. And it's almost like a song. Like I have jokes that are probably rewritten 10 times, and I try it on an audience, and I'm like, well, maybe instead of saying this word, I say this other word. And sometimes it's even like, since this is my second language, sometimes it can be like too convoluted for my own tongue. So I'm like, okay, I need to rewrite this because it's like a tongue twister that I'm playing on myself. So okay,
but that's funny though. That's funny though,
Yeah,
man. Like, I mean,
absolutely.
it's real. It makes the audience engage you. Now, let me ask you: do you record your performances? Because I played a lot of
Yes.
sports. I played baseball just to be able to go back and watch yourself and kind of see and analyze what gets a
Absolutely.
laugh or not.
Absolutely. It requires. It's awful, basically, because
I
it's just
hate
watching
listening to myself.
yourself.
I hate it.
And yes, and I'm very self-deprecating, not on stage, but when I see myself on video, I'm like, this idiot. But is the best way to pinpoint what needs to be fixed, and also realize that there's some things that maybe like a slam dunk that you need to use all the time. And so I think if you see your own performance, you're half-assing your job.
Can you also tell, like, I mean, not only the joke, but how you're working the stage, how you're like looking at the audience? Are you like engaging with them? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to
Sorry.
say? No, does it make sense? Like, not only are you listening,
that part go. Sorry.
are you listening to? Are you also watching how you're working the stage? Like, like looking
Everything.
at. Okay, so you're breaking everything down then too.
Yes, because if you have a great joke, but the delivery wasn't right, it's still a bad joke.
Yeah,
To
man.
account the way that you stage, the engagement you have with people, and also you need to have a script, like a scripted material.
What is the worst you've ever bombed?
Oof, I have a bunch of those stories. Actually, I have a whole set about probably like 15 minutes telling the story of my worst bomb. It was in front of a Venezuelan audience for a Venezuelan comedian that's very well known here in Miami. The guy sells out every Thursday, 500 seating place. And he invited me to the show, and I was like, oh, I got this. This is amazing. It's Venezuela. It's my people. And then I absolutely bombed. But like 15 minutes of like dead silence, people asking for the check, people yawning. The only people that were like engaged were my friends, and I could hear them like shushing other people. And that was absolutely devastating.
Now, Milton, do you guys have absolute freedom of speech in Venezuela?
Oh, not at all. Not one.
Not
bit.
at all. So, like, you couldn't talk bad about the president and stuff then, and
No.
that would be bad.
No, yeah, I did a mini tour with a Venezuelan comedian that he had a radio show, and the radio show got censored a couple of times, and then at the end it was just the government just like
Came and took him.
mandated to close to shut it down. Can I what? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, did they take him away? Like, what happened? Like,
Well, it depends on the mood of the guy that's a dictator at the moment. But
Is it
you can get in
Chavez?
jail. Yeah, Chavez was at the beginning, and now is Maduro. So
Is he better or worse?
No, not at all. It's worse because Chavez was a dictator, and he was like military, and he was very hard. And then this Maduro is a wannabe of that guy that has zero experience nor the smarts. So imagine a very dumb dictator.
Oh, yeah.
How hurtful it can be.
Wow. I mean, we had that here in the United States, didn't we, for the last 4 years? Like, I mean,
oof. I mean,
we kind of did have a dumb dictator. I'm just saying. I mean,
what I was very impressed to see is how, regardless of ideology, a guy with dictator traits, you can see him, like you can spot him, and you can see how out of control it can be.
They're sociopaths. They're egotistical.
Yes. And I saw very, very common traits of a dictator in the former president. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, Milton, tell people once again how they can check out your stuff. I really, really appreciate this. And if you're ever in the Central Florida area, let me know, because I know a lot of the clubs around here in Orlando that I can get you connected with. So,
I will definitely spam you as soon as this interview is over. My Instagram handle is The Milton Show. That's _Milton_show. And then you'll see clips of my performances, schedule for upcoming events, and whatever pops into my brain.
All right, Milton. Hey, I apologize. Hopefully you enjoyed this interview. Hopefully I didn't
I had a blast.
bad improvising. No, I just having some family emergency stuff going on, and I apologize for not being as prepared as I could have been, but I thought it was a great, natural, real interview we just did. So
no, I really appreciate it, and I really hope that everything is okay back at home. I know it's very weird times, so everything gets like heightened. But I really very much appreciate the invitation to your show.
All right, Milton. Hey, I'm going to follow you on Instagram there so I can keep up with everything.
Right back at you.
All right, man. Have a good one. Bye.
All right, man. Peace.
He's a nerd,
I've only been arrested one time.
a radio personality,
Professionally, I'm not in the best position that I've ever been in.
and hot talk satirizer.
You would think with everything that's going on, a Caucasian like myself wouldn't be able to randomly talk to an African American or a minority.
You're listening to the Tuttle Daily Podcast. Wish you could have just flown and had your vehicle arrive a day or two later so you can enjoy more time doing what's important to you? Well, you can. Just give Starfire Transport a call. Let the professionals do the driving while you're flying. Starfire Transport specializes in RV and auto transport. They'll also haul watercraft from boats to PWCs, cargo trailers, and more. Service available throughout the continental United States. So don't wait. Call Brian today at 574-349-4193 or 989-751-6106 for your next move. 10% off for veterans past or present. Also, make sure to tell them Tuttle sent you for an additional discount. That's Starfire Transport. Do you have something you want to say?
Hey, what kind of preacher is you?
Leave Tuttle a voicemail,
Because you're kind of ignorant.
especially if you think he's being an asshole.
No-legged bitch.
Will your hurtful comments offend Tuttle?
No, baby.
Call the show at 407-270-3044.
No, baby.
All right, welcome back to the Tuttle Daily Podcast. I was thinking about this today. As it is raining, it is absolutely pouring right now, and I'm sitting out in my dad's F-150 right now recording this. And sometimes this podcast, see, this is one of the things that I've had to get used to when it comes to doing a podcast, because it's almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie, because it's not linear, because I'm recording throughout the day, and you'll know what I mean later on when you hear my final segment of the day. But I just got done watching the movie Promising Young Woman with Carey Mulligan, and I got to tell you, holy crap. I know with the pandemic last year, not a lot of big-time movies came out. A lot of people, held back their movies and stuff. But man, it was so good. And the reason that I'm bringing up this movie, I got a piece of audio that I'm going to play for you in a few minutes. And I talked about this the other day. I talked about how it's gone too far to one side. And I explained it. I know that women get sexually assaulted. I know women that get sexually harassed or raped. It does happen. It really, really does. And it is sad. And these guys that commit these sexual crimes against women need to have their balls cut off. But before I get into that, I want to go through some audio. Because I've been busy. I'm constantly always finding audio to be able to play. And I really have not, went through any of it. And I don't post a lot of stuff on TikTok. I use TikTok to find good audio sound bites. for my production guy, Josh Kale, up in Canada to be able to use. But this video just hit me like really, really hard. You know, when we get older, our problems change. Like when you're a kid, it's the basic things like that you shouldn't really ever get freaked out about. And when you get older, like the stress and the real world problems come around. Here, let me just play this audio for you. And you can judge for yourself because it kind of hit me hard. Maybe I'm just becoming a pussy. I don't know.
I don't think I'll ever be able to get over how truly special the child human brain is before, it grows up. Like mine has grown up. I was talking to this kid today, and he was my best friend's nephew. And he was like, it's really good that they moved into this new house. And I was like, yeah, financially it was the best for them. And I started going on about taxes to this kid. And he was like, no, the ceilings. They're shorter than they used to be. And I was like, yeah, but they're just ceilings, And he goes, no, because now if I bring a balloon inside and I let go of it, I can just grab it and bring it back down. And I was like, no, you're right. You're right. Like if you let go of your balloon in a higher ceiling house, like you might not be able to get it back. You might just have to wait for it to come back down. And I literally almost started crying because I don't see the world that way anymore. I don't really care if my balloon goes to the ceiling and I don't get it back. But it's just not special to me anymore.
Don't get it twisted. I'm not becoming one of those motivational speaker type people because most of them come off as fake assholes just trying to make a buck off of being Mr. Positivity. But it is true though. Think about this. Like a lot of the stuff that's going on, a lot of these mass shootings, these violence that's happening in our world is over stress. Like, seriously, when we were kids, yeah, we didn't have a lot of responsibilities. But, I mean, can any of you guys remember back to when it was like to be a kid? When the worst thing that could have happened is your balloon floated to the roof and you weren't able to get it. But now us as humans, adults, we're worried about dating. We're stressing out about having a job. We all start stressing out because, oh my God, next thing you know, we're in our 20s. Oh my God, we're in our 30s. Holy fuck, I'm in my 40s. I'm divorced. I don't have a family of my own. I'm an only child. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that I'm stressing out about. And we all have different things. Stress is all relative. It's all perspective because people stress out about all types of things. And the person is right. The child brain is just amazing. It is like a sponge. It is always soaking up information. That is why I've been trying to help raise money to help out victims of childhood trauma. Because it's not fair. You need a license to have a gun. I really do think that like some of these people that have kids, they're causing a lot of problems. They really are. Because these kids are innocent. It's these asshole parents that are irresponsible. They're like, oh man, I'm not wearing condoms. Just feels so good to fuck without a condom on. And then they have kids that they neglect or abuse, sexually molest. It happens all the time. And that's why we have a bunch of fucked up adults right now. Because a lot of people don't realize that the reason that people are messed up, and I'm not making excuses for some of the people that do dumb shit, but those most important years where you're supposed to learn right from wrong, yeah, these irresponsible parents are sending out young adults that are going to be fuck-ups. Fault because their parents were a bunch of assholes. So I'm going to get off of this. I'll digress. I just thought that was like a great story. And like I said, I don't post a lot of stuff on TikTok, but I do find like interesting sound bites all the time. Now, this next audio that I'm about to play, I did not find this on TikTok. But this couple, they're leaving for work in the morning, and it looks like a residential area. And they get attacked by a motherfucking bobcat. Now, I know bobcats are not that big, but listen, even a normal size house cat will fuck up your day. Now, a bobcat, that is a different story. And I got to tell you, one of the most eerie sounds you'll ever hear is when a cat is facing off with another cat. That it doesn't even sound like that. But just hear this. I'm going to post this video on all my social media, twitter.com/Tuttle, facebook.com/Tuttle, instagram.com/Tuttle. But I got to give this husband credit. It's not like that dude that was out there jogging on his own that choked out a mountain lion. I mean, a mountain lion is a different story. But a bobcat isn't anything to fuck with.
Good morning. I need to wash my car.
Like I said, you are going to want to see this video. I know a lot of it is visual, so I'm going to kind of break it down for you. But I am going to post this video on all my social media. Just search Tuttle. I'm on every single social media platform. Just search Tuttle. Tuttle with 2 Ds. Tuddle. But this husband has this bobcat with both of his hands, like holding a baby that just shit his diaper, and slings the bobcat, like, I swear to God, must have been 20, 30 yards. And the bobcat was like, what? Is that the best that you got? He was like, that bobcat was like the fucking Terminator. I'm not talking about the T900, the one with the metal skin. I'm talking about the liquid one, the T1000. No matter how many times you shoot it, it is coming back for more. And this bobcat, like, seriously, like, if you see an animal like this, especially a predator that is usually on the prowl at night, I could almost guarantee you this bobcat was rabid. Definitely had to be rabid, because after this dude slung it, it came after the woman. Again, this dude's wife, it went straight for her. I don't know, like, if she, and I'm not trying to be sexist, not trying to be misogynistic, but I would like to know if this woman was menstruating. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Was she on her period? Because, you know, the females give off pheromones, and maybe the cat got confused and just wanted to get a piece of ass.
Oh my God! Get up! Get up! Get up!
Go!
Get the beat!
No!
Get up! Lindsay! Watch out! Oh, shoot that fucker!
By the way, this was not in the state of Florida. I don't even know. I should do better job researching, but this was definitely played. If this would have happened in Florida, where everybody is carrying, stand your ground. I mean, this is a clean shoot, right? On the bobcat, like, it's not gonna cause like any like Bobcat Lives Matters, BLM, Bobcat Lives Matters, BCLM, because this is a clean shoot all day. This is stand your ground. It is the exact definition of stand your ground. And this guy's talking about shoot the fucker. Well, where is your gun, buddy? Where is your gun where you should be practicing the Second Amendment to be able to save your wife? But no, you threw the cat about 30 yards. I mean, I got to tell you, the guy's got a pretty good arm. And I got to tell you, the bobcat was scratching the fuck out of him with those back legs when he tossed it. But the bobcat was like, is that the best you got, buddy? Because I'm coming after your bitch again.
Yeah! Watch out! Watch out! It's a bobcat! Attack my wife! A bobcat!
You know, a lot of the older generation says that technology is going to be the death of our country. I got to tell you right now, these security cameras, these Ring doorbells, they got some great audio processing, some great microphones, hardware that comes with it. Because I don't know if you remember, probably a couple of months ago, when I played the audio of that neighbor dispute where the guy was calling his neighbor a pussy, 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 and the guy just was done with it. He snapped, went out, pulled his gun from his waistband, shot the husband, shot the wife. By the way, the guy was a horrible shot, by the way, because he had to go back inside and get his long rifle and then finish them off. And I'm not making fun of any of that stuff because, like I said, it's just not worth it. And those two people ended up dying, but Jesus Christ, man, I'm getting all types of great audio. I'm not saying great audio as in, oh, it's great those people died. No, like, we're able to see things happen audio and visually. And I think that's great because we can learn from these people's mistakes. I don't understand because this was in a pretty busy residential area. So that's why I was saying this bobcat had to be rabid. It just, it had to be. That's the only reason why I think a bobcat would be out there. Or like I said, the woman might have been menstruating. The cat smelled the blood and was like, all right, I got to get a piece of that. All right, so if you haven't had a chance to check out the Tuttle Daily Podcast live stream that happens on my YouTube channel, go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tuttle. I do a weekly, well, I do it every night, Monday through Friday, usually in between 8 and 9 on youtube.com/Tuttle. Make sure you subscribe because if you haven't subscribed yet, and when you do, hit that bell button because when you hit that bell button, it's going to alert you anytime that I go live or upload any new content. But I talked about something this week, and I've also talked about this. I'm not going to be ever that radio host that is so stubborn that can't have his mind changed. You know, I was talking about, you know, with the Me Too movement. And I got to be careful of how I talk about this. I don't want anybody to think that I'm downplaying the horrible atrocities that women have had to go through the history of our country, having to fight to have equal rights, to be able to vote, just to be treated like men do. And I think that we have made a lot of strides. We really have. But are we also going a little bit too far? And I know that I'm going to get a lot of heat. I know a lot of people are going to get upset with what I'm about to talk about. But I also think that my mind has been changed. At the beginning of this segment, I talked about I just ended up finishing watching the movie Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan. And I got to tell you, it is a pretty deep, dark, and twisted movie. It almost seems like a modern day Fatal Attraction. But, you know, Glenn Close and Fatal Attraction was just crazy. Carrie Mulligan was crazy, but she had a purpose, which was revenge. And I'm sure stuff has happened like it did in this movie. And I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to ruin any of it. It's been out for a couple of months streaming. But I also do think that we've gone a little bit too far. You know, women have wanted equal rights, and equal rights means being on the same level as men. But I also do think that men are starting to get treated unfairly as well, too. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh, Tuttle, you're being a real fucking pussy. You're being an insensitive asshole. But it is the truth. Like, seriously. And give me a second to explain myself. Like, I'm a complete gentleman. I respect women in their space. I worked for one of the, well, she still is, the most powerful woman in radio, Linda Bird. And I respected her. I was scared of her. Not scared of her like, oh, yeah, she's a woman and she hates men. No, that I was like, holy crap, this woman has just made a career for herself. But are we also going too far in the other direction where, like, guys now are going to get the short end of the stick? And this audio that I'm about to play for you, I don't want you to think that I agree with 100% of it, but the guy really does make some great, valid points.
What is it truly like to be a man in today's society? What are the difficulties?
Let's see. There's no point in getting married anymore because divorce is basically incentivized.
I know that you guys hate when I start and stop audio the way that I do. This is one of the things that I don't agree with this guy on. This guy sounds like a guy that has just had his heart absolutely ripped out by a chick. He hates the institution of marriage. And I'm not against it. Like, listen, I've been married before. I don't think I'll ever get married, but I'm not going to say that I'll never get married again. But, I mean, there's also a lot of other happy couples out there, like Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. They have been together for years, and you never hear anything bad about their relationship. I mean, they've had a great family, and it just works. But this guy just sounds like a bitter man that just got burned by a woman. Hell, I was that guy at one point. I hated, right after my divorce, I hated my ex-wife. Or I hated my wife. But then it got better. It really did. I can't say that I hate her because I was with her for so long. I had a lot of great times. So it would make me the biggest hypocrite in the world to say that I disagree with marriage.
Why would an aging woman who's losing her sexual market value want to be with a man when she could just take his money and his children and his house?
I'm not laughing at that because fortunately I really didn't have anything to take. Luckily, I didn't have any kids. You know, I would have loved to have had kids, but it just made things easier. But the guy does have a point. Like, seriously. If there's a domestic dispute, 9 times out of 10, even if, and listen, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Yes, men are assholes. They get physical, and it sucks. Like I said, they should have the shit kicked out of them if you ever put your hands on a woman. But 9 times out of 10, if a woman gets out of hand, it's happened to me. It has happened to me where I have gotten dragged out of a club because I was hanging out with somebody and we were drinking too much and maybe we had a disagreement. Never touched the person, and the bouncer came over and asked if I was bothering her. And she said, yeah. And guess what? The bouncer dragged me out of that place by my head And there was nothing I could have done about it because guess what? They always take the woman's side. They do. And also, why do the women always get the kids? I agree. Women, the mothers, need to be with their kids. It is way more important for the kids to be with their mother. They have that bond. They grew into a baby inside of that mother. They have that bond. So yes, I don't have a problem with that. But I also, I don't understand why men have to pay half or more. It just, it does not make any sense. And the cards are stacked against men in present day America. It just is. You could have been the greatest husband in the world, could have been the greatest father in the world. The guy is always going to get screwed, even if he did everything right.
You can't be sexual at all to women anymore, or else you might get canceled. Everyone believes women when they make false rape allegations.
All right, so I gotta be careful about how I talk about this one. Seriously. Well, let's get to his first statement there. You cannot compliment on her looks anymore without being afraid of being accused of sexual harassment. That is the God honest truth. It is. You could be innocent. You could be like, man, you look really nice today. And that could get misconstrued. And it happens all the time. Now, I also, there are fake rape allegations. But I also agree that you got to take every single one of them seriously. You got to do your own investigation. The authorities have got to do it. They really do. Because there are a lot of men that take advantage. There are a lot of men, and back to the movie, Promising Young Woman, starring Carey Mulligan. A lot of guys do go out. They purposely get women drunk. And I know a lot of you guys are probably like, well, the woman, she's responsible for herself. No. Guys, if a woman is passed out and she is inebriated and she does not know what's going on and you have sex with her, it's a touchy subject. It really, really is. But I consider that rape. If a woman is passed out because you fed her drinks, and yes, I know people are responsible for their own actions and drinking, but be a gentleman, guys, for real. Because it makes you a real fucking scumbag if you have sex with a woman that is passed out from drinking too much. Yes, yeah, I said it. Even if she was into you and was ready to throw down, if she is passed out drunk, you have to have self-control. You got to be the better person and be respectful. Because if you really do like that woman, you would not do something. You would not want your first time to be with that woman while she was passed out and could not remember a goddamn thing. I'm just saying.
And even if they're proven to be not true, your reputation is still damaged for life. A woman with buyer's remorse can basically just make false claims or exaggerated claims about you, and you're damaged for life. Women want you to do and provide everything for them and change into whatever they want you to mold into, but don't want to change at all themselves. And society praises this. Women always talk about how they want a man above 6 feet, but when a man talks about how he wants a fit chick, he's body shaming.
Okay, so now out of all the points that this guy has made, that is kind of true. It really, really is. I mean, all right. I've done promotions at radio stations where the Chippendales have been out there, and the women sexualize the guys nonstop. They do. Now, when a guy body shames a woman and is not interested in them because they're not attracted to them, that makes them a superficial pig. Like, oh, so what? You only care about beauty? You don't care about personality? You know, when a guy does that, that makes him a chauvinistic pig. But when a woman does it, nobody blinks an eye. They really don't. I really do think that the gentlemen, the guys that are the real good guys, underappreciated now. They really are. You know, I always thought that it was like a myth that the women love the bad guy, the troublemaker. The guys that actually put in the effort, the guys that do the thoughtful things, the guys that do this and that, they get shut down. They do. They get shut down. They get made to feel bad. They get made to feel like it is their fault. And before any of you guys think that I'm talking about anybody in particular, it could be you are so wrong. But I've been dealing with that all my life. I really have. There are so many guys out there that have dealt with this. The guys that are old-fashioned, the guys that treat women with respect, the guys that are thoughtful, the ones that go the extra mile. They're the ones that get shit on. Men are underappreciated. That's why I said that I think that we are going too far to one side. Because if women wanted truly equal rights, which I think we've come a really, really long way from, I still think women get treated like shit. It's getting better. But are we also going to do it at the detriment of men? I don't think that's very fair at all. I really don't. And I don't want you guys to think that I'm being this women hater. I'm not. I love women. I respect them. They need to be put up on a pedestal. At least some of them do. The ones that deserve it. But the ones that you put up on a pedestal, they don't appreciate the guy that is doing all that stuff. They want the bad guy. They want the guy that treats them like shit. And I guess that's just the way that it is. It's always going to be.
Nobody has our backs, not even our brothers. Men destroy men in the name of women because they white knight. We're completely disposable in today's society and nobody cares.
I don't like to paint with a broad brush. I'm not saying all women are like that, but you do have to admit that there are some women out there that do treat men like shit. They feel like, oh, you owe me this, you owe me that. It's just not fair at sometimes. But I also agree that women have to deal with more issues. They got to fight harder. They got to work harder than a lot of the men just to be able to get the same type of position, job, or respect. But I'm just saying, if we want true equal rights in the sexes, then yes, it needs to be a level playing field. And I still think men have an edge. They really, really do. But men do get treated unfairly sometimes, especially the good ones. The assholes are the ones that get away with it. The ones that just cheat on women. The ones that abuse women. The ones that are just complete assholes are the ones that give the gentlemen, the good guys, the ones that respect women and treat them the way they should be. They're the ones that get treated like crap. And I know a lot of people are going to be mad at this commentary or this rant that I've gone on, but you know what? It's kind of true. I can see both sides of the story. So I'm going to take a quick break. Going to come back with the last segment. You are listening to the Tuttle Daily Podcast.
From the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp.
Man, maybe I would have way more sex partners in my life if I just threw caution to the wind.
It's the Tuttle Daily Podcast. Tuttle's Daily Podcast is brought to you by StitchYouUp.com. For your embroidery, screen printing, vinyl, and direct-to-garment printing needs, visit StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up specializes in custom caps, shirts, decals, and anything you want to personalize. Whether it's one item or large orders, they can handle any size. Unsure about what you want? Let Stitch You Up help you with your logo design. Visit StitchYouUp.com or contact them, Eric at StitchYouUp.com. Stitch You Up. Definitely not your grandma's embroidery. Nerd. Radio personality and hot talk satirizer. You're listening to the Tuttle Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tuttle Daily Podcast. Once again, I am waiting for my next interview. Supposed to be talking to David G. David G is a former Navy military officer. He is also a pastor, talking about regrets. Now, well, I didn't see that message. Is he here? Yeah. Because if he is, as soon as he calls in, definitely bring him on, please. John G. Sorry, John G. Sorry. I get a lot of, listen, man, I'm going through a lot of stuff right now. John G. Not like the letter G. It's like G-E-E. And John G. going to be on the show, but right now we're high and dry, waiting for the high spot. And John G. is nowhere to be found. Where you at, John G? Not going to get mad. Today is Sunday. It is the Lord's Day. So maybe he right now is in the middle of a sermon somewhere. But I was kind of looking forward to this interview. Plus, if I'm just being honest, I kind of need it. I've been listening to the podcast. You know that I've got a lot of stuff on my plate right now. I just do. And I need John G to show up. And I'm not talking trash. Vulture even told me, be cool. But I still do have a problem when people no call, no show. Like I really, really do. And I'm not talking trash. I'm sure something came up. John G being a Navy guy, being a military guy, I'm sure he's a very, very responsible person. So him not, well, what time is it right now? He is officially 4 minutes late. And I know a lot of you guys probably get tired of hearing me complain and stuff. But, I just I don't appreciate when people, think that their time is more important than mine. And like I said, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to talk trash or anything like that. John G wants to reschedule at a later date. I'll give him another shot. I have no problem with that at all. But John G, got a lot of stuff going on right now, man. Got a lot of stuff that I could be doing. And your interview would also help me out with content. Because I am scratching for traction when it comes to content because I've got my mind on other things. I talked about this on the Tuttle Daily Podcast live stream the other day that I apologize. I apologize that I have been lacking in exclusive content when it comes to the audio version of the Tuttle Daily Podcast. But I'm trying the best that I can, people. A lot of you guys don't think about this. I am an only child. Most families have siblings to be able to, help each other out, to be able to lean on. And I'm by myself. Now, I do have my Uncle Harold, who is my dad's brother. that has been coming down every single day and helping me out. But for the most part, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm being disrespectful when I say this, but it's kind of on me, my responsibility. I cannot move on with my life. I can't start a life of my own until this whole situation gets straightened out. Because I don't have a brother or a sister to be like, hey, I got stuff going on. You think you might want to help me out a little bit? No, I don't got that. Everything is on my shoulders. You know, I'm sure a lot of people think that I'm being heartless or emotionless or even a sociopath. Because I really, like, there are times that I do want to bawl my eyes out. I want to cry. I want to just scream and yell and let it out. But I can't. I can't do that in front of my mom or my dad. I got to be that rock. I'm not complaining, but it is true. Like, I got to be strong. And trust me, it is tearing me up inside on a daily basis. To see growing up, especially in the South, when it comes to being a Southern son of a Southern father, one that had one of the manliest professions that you can think of, which is being a steel iron worker. Back in the day, and I'm not talking about any of that pussy ass stuff that's going on right now when it comes to steel erection, where you got to wear a safety harness all over the place. Got to wear steel toe boots, jeans, and a shirt and a hard hat, safety glasses, all that good stuff. Back when my dad was doing it, fuck, there's no tying off. Those guys walk the beams. They walk the iron with no safety harnesses on at all, shirtless in the summer sun. Probably been out partying the night before. Yeah, their morning probably sucked because they were hungover. That's a lot of things that I noticed when I was ironworking. When I was part-time at Real Radio 104.1 to make ends meet, when I was dating my soon-to-be future wife, after I got done working at the radio station, get up at 3:30, get done by 11:30, give me enough time to go to lunch, and then I would do ironworking, steel erection, until about 6:30, and then go home, rinse, repeat, and do it all over again. But back then, at lunchtime, the guys would go out and have some beers. They would. You know how many iron workers I saw back in the day that could not weld a straight line before lunch? I gotta tell you, mysteriously, hand quotes, even though you can't see me right now, after lunchtime, when they went and had a few beers or a couple of shots, those guys could weld like nobody else could. Straight lines, no slag, dime-sized welds. Yeah, because they went out and got a little bit of that hair of the dog from the night before, and they were good to go. Two of the ironworkers that come to mind, I mean, they were seasoned veterans from Alabama. They came to Central Florida to look for work. And I never really understood how they did this. These two dudes would weld without helmets on. I don't know if any of you guys have ever had flash burns when it comes to welding, but it is one of the most painful things that you will ever experience in your life. And I've experienced it, and I wore a helmet every single time I was welding. What happens is you get these blisters on your eyeball, and then when you rub your eyes, those burst. And then it just feels like somebody dumped a sandbox full of sand right in your eyes. And the more and more you rub it, the more and more it hurts. But these guys, they would weld without a helmet on. And a lot of people don't know this, that even when you're welding, that arc is so bright that it'll actually burn your skin. It'll give you a tan. And the only thing that these guys did was put suntan lotion on their skin and would weld without helmets all day long. So what I'm trying to say is, I worked as a different generation of iron workers. And those guys, those were the men. But back to what I'm saying, I digress. What I'm trying to say is, you know how painful it is? You know how angry I get to be able to see my dad in the shape that he is in right now, and the doctors, see, that's the thing about our medical system right now. Our medical system is so fucked up in this country right now. These people, they can't give me any answers. The only answers they give me is, we're running more tests. And I'm ready to pull the plug. Not pull the plug like he's on life support, but pull the plug and get him to a hospital that actually knows what the fuck they're doing, like Shands Hospital up in Gainesville. Because I think that it is my duty. Has my dad been the perfect dad? No. Has my dad cared for me? Has my dad given me every single thing that I need to be able to succeed? Yes, he did. Have I succeeded? No, I have not. But he's also given me every single thing. He's given me the tools, the skills, the lessons, the discipline, all that I need to be able to do what I want to do. Yeah, I'm still living with my parents right now at 40 years old. But how many of you guys would do that? How many of you guys would stick around and help out your parents? Because there's a lot of people that wouldn't do that. It infuriates me when a lot of these people want to come at me and tell me that I'm taking advantage or I'm mooching off of my parents. No. Fuck that. Fuck you. And I dare you to say it to my face. Because I contribute. I put in. I help out with the rent. I clean up around the house. I run to the grocery store. I run to the pharmacy. I take them to doctor's appointments on top of everything else that I'm not even talking about in my personal life, my dating life, this podcast, the YouTube live stream. So what I'm trying to say is that I gotta be strong. I have no choice. And that's not good. That is not good to keep things bottled in. You know, everybody's talking about, and please see, I got to be careful with everything that I say because, like, I don't want to get Baker acted again. I don't want people to like, Tuttle, he's losing it again. He's losing it. No, that's the furthest thing from the case. Like, I am 100% mentally there. This is the best that I've ever been mentally and physically in my life. But, you know, with the Second Amendment stuff, they're wanting more gun laws. You're not going to get the guns from anybody. You're just not going to do it. You got to concentrate on mental illness. And listen, I've been there. I've made my mistakes. I've experienced the deepest of deep when it comes to mental illness. And I've come out on the other side a better person. Not a lot of people could be doing what I'm doing right now. And I'm not trying to S my own D or anything like that. Like I said, it is 3:45 right now. I was supposed to have the interview with this guy, and he doesn't even show up. So I guess we're going to just have to reschedule it and do what we got to do, because I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to go after guests or anything like that. Am I a little disappointed? Yes. But I'm sure there's a good reason for it.
And that's the show for today. Thanks for listening to the Tuttle Daily Podcast. Hey, don't be a dickhead. Do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the show. Also, check out the Tuttle category at 315live.com. The Tuttle Daily Podcast is brought to you by the Vapor Shades Hobo Fish Camp. You want some cool-ass sunglasses? Check out vaporshades.com. Also brought to you by Starfire Transport, StitchYouUp.com, PocketPairClub.com. Special thanks to show intern Hannah and Charlie Alamo for their contributions. Additional imaging and production is provided by CCA Productions, Facebook.com/CCA Productions Presents. Show voiceover service is brought to you by JCVoiceover.com. That guy's got a damn sexy voice. You should hire him. Check out JCVoiceover.com. If you want to help support the show, go to paypal.me/Tuttle on the Radio. Comments? Concerns? Or do you just want to let Tuttle know he's being a dickhead? Tuttle@gmail.com. That's Tuttle with 2 D's at gmail.com. Leave a voicemail at 407-270-3044. To follow all of Tuttle's social media, go to Tuttle.net. Thanks again for all your support, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Tuttle Daily Podcast.
Hey, yo, Terry, what going on?